Hi everyone. Today I want to speak directly to your heart. We're going to talk about something every one of us struggles with, but few of us admit out loud: confidence. Not the kind that comes from applause or appearance, but the deep, unshakable kind that comes from being unapologetically yourself. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about letting go of comparison, finding your voice, and embracing your story, even the parts you've been taught to hide. If you've ever felt like you weren't enough, this conversation is for you. Because today, we're learning to be confident. Be you. Confidence begins where comparison ends. It's a simple truth, but it carries a lifetime of pain, struggle, and healing, especially for us women. From a very young age, we are taught to measure our worth in contrast to someone else. We are taught that beauty has a certain shape, that intelligence has a certain voice, and that success wears a particular dress. And if we don't fit into that frame, we begin to question not just how we look, but who we are. I remember standing in front of a mirror as a young girl, tracing the parts of me I wished were different. My hair wasn't straight enough, my voice was too soft, my dreams were too loud. And even though I had dreams burning in my chest and a heart full of ambition, every time I looked around, I felt like someone else was doing it better. I wanted to be like her. I wanted her confidence, her smile, her life. But in chasing her light, I was losing my own. That's what comparison does. It steals you from yourself. The saddest part is, we don't even realize how subtly it begins. You scroll through social media and see someone your age running a successful business, or traveling the world, or living the life you thought you'd have by now. And suddenly, everything you've done feels small. Your milestones feel meaningless. You shrink, you doubt, you forget that your journey was never meant to be measured against someone else's timeline. But here's the truth I want to remind you of today. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not less. Confidence isn't something you earn by reaching a certain goal or getting approval from others. It is built every time you choose to accept yourself without comparison. It's built every time you say, "This is who I am, and that is enough." It grows when you walk into a room and don't look around to see who's better dressed or more successful. It grows when you stop editing your life to match someone else's highlight reel. There was a turning point in my life when I finally realized that comparison was a habit, not a truth. I had to unlearn it. I had to wake up every day and remind myself, her beauty doesn't mean I'm not beautiful. Her success doesn't cancel mine. Her voice doesn't silence me. I started celebrating other women, not as a threat, but as a mirror, a reflection of what is possible for all of us. And the more I clapped for them, the more I found my own rhythm. You see, being confident doesn't mean you believe you're better than others. It means you believe that who you are doesn't need to be compared to anyone. It's knowing that your uniqueness is your strength, not your weakness. That the world doesn't need 100 versions of someone else, it needs the one and only you. There's a certain power that comes when you decide to love yourself as you are. Not when you lose weight, not when you get the job, not when life is perfect. But right now, in this moment, with your flaws, your history, your fears, and your fire. That kind of self-acceptance creates an energy that can't be faked. It radiates. It speaks before you even open your mouth. People feel it, and they respect it, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And I won't lie to you, it's a process. Some days, the old voice creeps in and whispers, "She's better than you." And in those moments, I take a deep breath, place my hand over my heart, and I remind myself, but she's not me. And that's my power. Confidence begins where comparison ends, and your journey to becoming unshakably confident begins the moment you stop asking, "Am I as good as her?" and start asking, "How can I be more of me?" Because that's where your light lives. That's where your magic begins. How many times have you bitten your tongue just to keep the peace? How many times have you had something powerful to say, but stayed silent because you were afraid it might not be accepted, or worse, misunderstood? If you're anything like me, you've been taught to be polite, to not raise your voice, to not speak until spoken to. You've been conditioned to believe that being a good woman means being quiet, agreeable, and invisible. But that's not confidence, that's compliance, and it doesn't serve your soul. There was a time in my life when I apologized before every sentence. Sorry, but I don't mean to sound rude, but this might sound silly, but, and over time, I began to believe that my voice was a burden, that my thoughts had to be filtered, refined, and sugar-coated just to be tolerated. But deep down, I was screaming for space. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be felt. I wanted to stop dimming my light, just so someone else could shine more comfortably. You see, confidence isn't just about how you look or how you walk into a room. It's about how you express your truth, even when your voice shakes, especially when your voice shakes. It's about trusting that what you feel, what you believe, and what you want to say has value, because it does. Your voice is not an accident. It is not extra. It is not too loud, too emotional, too complicated. It is yours, and that makes it powerful. Growing up, I was always told to let the men talk, or don't be too assertive, or you'll be seen as aggressive. And for a while I believed it. I believed that confidence looked like someone else's tone, someone else's posture, someone else's way of being. But over time, I learned something life-changing. Your voice doesn't need permission, it needs practice. And once you start using it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. I remember the first time I spoke up in a room full of people who didn't expect to hear from me. My hands were trembling, my heart was racing, but I spoke anyway. Not because I wasn't scared, but because I was done shrinking. And when I finished speaking, something incredible happened. People listened, not because I was the loudest, not because I was the most experienced, but because I was real. And authenticity will always cut through the noise. There is a generation of girls watching us. They are listening to how we speak, watching how we show up, learning from how we carry ourselves. What are we teaching them when we silence ourselves? What do we model when we treat our own voices like they are optional? You are not just speaking for yourself, you are creating space for others to be brave too. Every time you say what needs to be said, every time you stop apologizing for existing, you are making it easier for the next woman to stand up. You are giving her permission to be bold, to be raw, to be heard. Let me tell you this with love and fire. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't need to dilute yourself to be digestible. The right people will hear you, and the wrong ones were never meant to guide your path anyway. Speak with the power of someone who knows their voice can shift a room. Speak with the heart of someone who's tired of hiding. Speak with the strength of someone who has finally realized that she was never too much. She was just in the wrong place all along. We live in a world that benefits from women staying quiet. That's why using your voice will feel rebellious, uncomfortable, maybe even risky. But it is also necessary. The moment you stop waiting for permission and start speaking your truth, you become unstoppable. And no, you don't need to sound like her. You don't need to be loud, harsh, or polished. You just need to be you. Let your voice sound the way it naturally does. Let your words come from the heart, not the script. Let your story be told exactly the way you lived it, not the way someone else thinks it should be told. Because the world doesn't need more echoes, it needs original voices. It needs your voice. We are living in a world that celebrates perfection, where flaws are edited out with a filter, where mistakes are hidden behind perfectly curated posts, and where vulnerability is mistaken for weakness. Every scroll, every like, every highlight reel tells us that success must look a certain way, that happiness has to be flawless, and that we must hide our pain if we want to be loved. But what I've come to learn, what I've come to believe with every fiber of my being, is that the world doesn't need perfect, it needs real. For years I chased perfection. I believed that if I could just get everything right, if I could look a little better, work a little harder, be a little quieter, then maybe I would finally be enough. Maybe I would finally be seen. But the harder I tried to be perfect, the more empty I felt. The more I tried to impress others, the more I lost myself. And in the process, I realized something heartbreaking. I wasn't living, I was performing, and so many of us are doing the same thing. We wear masks. We smile when we're breaking inside. We say I'm fine when we're barely holding on, because we're afraid that if we show the messy parts, if we let people see the cracks, they'll walk away. But here's what I want to tell you, with love and fierce honesty, it's not your perfection that makes you powerful, it's your truth. When you embrace your imperfections, when you show up as your whole self, unfiltered, unpolished, and undeniably human, you give other people the courage to do the same. You become a mirror that reflects honesty in a world full of illusions. You become a voice that says, it's okay to be real here. And there is nothing more beautiful, more magnetic, more life-changing than that. Confidence doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from owning every part of your story, the proud moments and the painful ones. It comes from saying, this is me, I'm still growing, I'm still healing, but I am here, and I am worthy. You don't need to wait until you've reached some imaginary finish line to be confident. You don't need to fix everything before you can feel proud of yourself. Confidence is not a reward for perfection, it's a reflection of self-acceptance. And let's be honest, perfection is a myth. No one has it all figured out. No one is without fear, failure, or regret. So why are we wasting our lives trying to reach something that doesn't exist? Why are we measuring our worth by how well we can hide our truth? The world doesn't remember people because they were perfect. It remembers them because they were brave, brave enough to show up anyway, to speak out anyway, to live fully despite the cracks. There is so much strength in vulnerability, so much courage in admitting that you're not okay, and so much beauty in choosing to be real, even when it's uncomfortable. Because when you stop pretending, you start connecting. You start attracting people who love you, not for the mask you wear, but for the soul you show. And let me tell you, there is no freedom like the freedom that comes from being your true self. No peace like the peace that comes when you stop pretending. No power like the power that comes when you stand tall in your own skin, knowing that you are enough, not in spite of your flaws, but because of them. You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. You just have to be real. You just have to show up as you are and trust that your authenticity will do the work your perfection never could. The right people will hear you, the right people will feel you, and the right people will love you, not for what you've achieved, but for who you are becoming. So let go of the pressure, let go of the performance, let go of the lie that you need to have it all together to be worthy of love, respect, or success. You are not here to impress, you are here to impact, and the only way you will ever do that is by being unapologetically, fearlessly, beautifully real. So today, I invite you to take off the mask, let go of who you think you're supposed to be, and embrace who you truly are. You don't need to chase perfection to be powerful. Your authenticity is enough. Your journey, with all its ups and downs, is enough. Be confident in your flaws, your dreams, your truth, because the most courageous thing you can ever do is to simply be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you someone else. Be confident, be bold, be real, and most importantly, be you. The world has been waiting for her.
If you learned something new from this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe.